kind of X-rated, wasn't it, Victoria?
It was a tad. It was a tad. Naomi was beautiful, she was told.
There were some odd comments in the section.
Very odd comments. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the panel. Hope you are well. Today, I am joined by Helen Hollinsett and Naomi Holbrook. Hello, ladies.
Hello. Hello.
Hello, hello, hello. So, do you know what? We took last week off, so let's just lean in. What has everybody been up to? Helen, I know you've been all over.
Yeah, I mean, I've missed a couple of these. I was doing a workshop in Germany for 4 days, which was a lot of fun and felt like a complete bubble and sort of feels as though it was a dream rather than the real world, because it was just in this most spectacular place.
Yeah.
Outside Cologne, and everything was sort of laid on, and when you're sort of leading those, you're in a completely world of your own, which was amazing. And then I was all excited about joining last week, and then I saw, oh, we don't have one. Okay.
Yes.
So I was like, yay! Actually, I think another hour with my inbox. So that's so good.
What were you doing away in Cologne?
So leading a workshop for one of the big four for their up and coming leaders. So really exciting.
Fantastic. And Naomi, what have you been up to?
Well, I spent the weekend at a holosomatic retreat. Healing 9 generations of trauma.
Oh, that must have been fun.
When you say the word retreat, everybody thinks, you had a really relaxing. No, it is not designed to be. I mean, obviously, yes, there are points that nervous system regulation is brought back, but yeah.
You fundamentally spend an entire weekend snotty and crying, don't you?
There was a lot of tears, some screaming, some yelling. What a beautiful feeling to be able to do that so free. I do go up and do it on the downs sometimes. I do it in my car sometimes. Yes, my first proper immersive experience into holosomatic immersion.
Amazing. Just bear with me a sec. I'm just trying to get rid of I don't know why I've got a tick 3 on here. Just bear with me one. There we go. Topic for today. So do you feel a lot more liberated this week then?
Yeah, so I was there Friday night, 12 hours on Saturday, 11 hours on Sunday. Oh, it was full on immersion. And then I slept Sunday night. I slept for 9 hours and 2 minutes.
Oh, see, I'd love that. I don't think I've ever slept more than 6 hours.
Oh yeah, my average is 7 to 8, but on a like a 9 hour is like makes me a happy woman. And then I have to say it's I think a few days afterwards you still feel some after effects from it, but I'm feeling good.
Beautiful.
Cleansed.
Where was I went to an event called AdCon.
Yes, I saw this.
Which I would suggest and recommend to everyone. It was probably in a long time. And you're talking to somebody who started going to events by going into a Tony Robbins event straight away. So the caliber is, but AdCon was incredible. I wanted to go into a place where I didn't know people or know as few people as possible. And I think there were between 400 and 600 people. And out of those people, I think I knew 10 people. And it was fantastic. The intention of the organizers, the intention of the people who attended. These were people who weren't here to mess. It was phenomenal. And, I'm a bit of a floater after a while. Like I drift around. So I'll attend, I'll listen to a few speakers and then go out for a bit of a break and then come back in. And I remember walking out and there wasn't one single person in the lobby. It's the same lobby that they at the hotel, Wembley Hotel. There was nobody. Everybody was either inside or they'd left to have meetings. It was so intentional. But most importantly, the speakers were phenomenal. They were high class. Even the students of John Penberthy, who host all this, they got to speak, which was incredible. So they had, some of them had slots, not just to speak about what they'd done, but to actually do a talk which was beautiful. And what else? There was something else that was really good about it. Finished on time. It starts at 8:30. Starts at 8:30, straight through to 5, with minimal breaks. And everybody who was there came in with the intention to buy. So stands sold. Even as you're networking, people want to know you because they're interested in your products and they want. So I left with loads of leads. Amazing event to go to. So yes. And I've got another story which I'll tell later. But today we're talking about body trends, and it was so interesting at the event to see all these women and and men, walking in with different styles and different body shapes and everything else. And I was watching something the other day about, it was a guy actually who was talking on TikTok, and he was saying something like, a woman who's overweight wouldn't be suitable as a wife, sort of like, I don't know if he was trying to be controversial or whatever and stuff, but he was like, society. And the other man was asking him and saying, but by whose standards are you setting all these? And he said, well, society wants us to be skinny, and society wants us to look a certain way. So, by default now, when he looks at women, he's judging by how they look rather than the person that they are. And I get it, right? A lot of men will honestly hold up their hands and say this first look first, it's what they see. And then they go beyond. And I thought that's so interesting, because as somebody who is a big girl, I don't know if anybody knows this, but I am a big girl. And it's not, yes, I want to be healthy, but it's not something that I sit there and go, oh my God, I need to be a size 10. I need to be a size 10. My world depends on me being a size 10. I'm more focused on, can I live to see my next birthday, or can I elongate my life? And it's my skin's very important to me. So does my skin look good and stuff and everything else? And I just thought it'd be a really good conversation to have. Yeah. So as women who I see as, being normal bodied, that's how I see you two. Because I go, because I think, well, in society, that's more acceptable. But I also know that there's a history towards everybody as well. Like, we don't get to this body and to this age without going through a journey. And I just thought, what would your body trend be? And how do you see body trends? And I'm going to post that over to Helen first.
So I mean, I'm going to come back to you something you said about the bloke saying society wants us to be skinny. Well, if society did, then fresh fruit and vegetable would be cheaper and easier to get hold of than McDonald's. Yeah. So actually, I think there's a massive dichotomy in what, if you were to really think about how you control a society, you make them overweight, you make them unhealthy. So for me, there's sort of actually what we have been bought into, what we've been sold versus what the reality is. So I think there's some really interesting conversations there. But I think my journey with my body has been a roller coaster all of my life. I got told on my 13th birthday that I was fat, boring and ugly by my grandmother in front of the entire family. That was just sent out to the world as a declaration rather than something that was open for debate or change. And that just set off. I mean, to be honest, I've been on a bit of a spiral since about the age of 8, I think, when we used to get weighed in front of the whole school and the weight called out in front of the whole school.
Wow.
And girls get taller faster and therefore we're heavier. And I was called out quite often for being the heaviest person in the school, but I was 5'6" at the age of 10. Most of my other friends were struggling to get to 5 foot. I stopped growing at 13 and I've been 5'7" ever since. So there was all of this sort of stuff that came with that. And I've been on a massive roller coaster, and that was fundamentally pure body hatred.
Wow.
For decades. And I mean, loathing. I self-harmed, I drank too much, I ate shit. When I was working out, I wasn't just going to the gym and doing a 20-minute run. I was like, right, I'm going to go for my next 20 miler. You know, I was extreme in every single way. And I can remember going into a real about 3-day spiral of depression because I'd spoken to a friend of my mother's who happened to be a tailor. I really I have to be a size 8. She said, Helen, you're never going to manage it. Your shoulders are just too big. You're a size 10 to 12, full stop. You're never going to be any smaller. You are a tall, broad-shouldered, wide-hipped woman. Deal with it. And that, you know, I think I was in my 20s, and that was disastrous. So I think from body trends perspective, it was not until I got older and started to give less of a that I actually got to a point where I felt okay with all the trends. And I can look at people and go, we're all born completely differently. I look at some of my friends. I've got one friend and she's just tiny. But tiny, her shoulders are tiny. There's everything about her is tiny.
Yeah.
And that's just never, ever going to be me. You know, so I think it's a really interesting thing to look at when we're looking at these trends and how we judge and compare ourselves against others when it's just not possible.
Yeah. Naomi, I know. When I chose the topic, I thought she's going to have great fun. So I'm going to let you unleash. Go for it.
Unleash the beast. So firstly, what Helen's just said, I mean, literally, Helen, I could have, you know, I wasn't told by a relative that I was fat. I observed in the 80s my mum on every single fad diet. And I was a young, you know, sensitive girl who clearly picked up on all of that, plus watching her face in the mirror when she tried on shorts for the summer holidays, all the diets that happened before we went away every year. And then, you know, my mum became very sick and subsequently died. And that created not just grief, depression, anxiety, but also a pattern of using food and alcohol to self-soothe, to try and heal emotions that I didn't know how to deal with. So my relationship with my body, similar to you, from the age of around 8 or 9, relationship with body and food, up until literally my late 30s, 39, was again, like you, self-loathing, hatred.
Yeah.
Now, first thing I'm going to say is women's bodies aren't trend. We are human beings and not a fashion to be updated every season with the new color, the new accessories. And I think the problem isn't women wanting to feel good. It's that society keeps changing the rules of what a good body is. And when I say a good body, I'm talking in inverted commas. And what you've just said there, Helen, about what's profitable at the time. You know, I could never see this until I saw it. And now I will never be able to unsee it. And that is the system that we are in, the food industry, the diet industry, the pharmaceutical industry, that all together are worth multi-trillions.
Yeah.
And so society needs those trends, because those trends, the minute women, you know, if you look at all the trends that we've had, the, you know, heroin chic, which probably a lot of us grew up with, then the, you know, embracing the fuller figure. And then obviously we had the whole like positive body image era that came through. And now, obviously, of course, we, you know, we have, you know, with the increase of weight loss medication, but also the abuse of it, because in a lot of places, yes, it is life-saving and everything else. However, we know that there is a huge misuse and abuse of it. That has taken us back to the heroin chic era and that body trend. But what I'm all about inside my programs, my philosophy, what I do with all the women that work with me is help them to love the body they're in, whilst working towards having the healthiest body they can. It is, you know, I never say to my clients like, you know, what weight do you want to be? What size do you want to be? Because at the end of the day, what really matters is how you feel in that vessel. Vessel. It's not a trend. It's not a fashion. It's not an accessory. It's a vessel. And yeah, you know, and now I think it's just social media has obviously you know, brought that trend and what sells and what's profitable. And also for so many, you know, you look at how we were influenced by magazines, by, you know, Kylie on Neighbours. I mean, who didn't want to be Kylie in, you know, tiny, in a little boiler jumpsuit, looking all amazing? But actually that's now tenfold, if not 1,000-fold, for all the young people now, not just girls, you know, and we see this a lot, is that actually disordered eating, eating disorders, body dysmorphia is starting younger and younger across all genders. This is no longer a female problem.
No,
it is gender neutral across the board.
And it's interesting because my eldest has just done a growth spurt. He's just gone whoop, and with it gone whoop, he's gone really thick. And he said to me, no one teased me at swimming yesterday because I've got skinny. And I was like, he's never been chubby. He's never, but when he grows, both of them do, they get this little belly, and then all of a sudden they put inches on and the belly goes. And that sort of seems to be the body's way of going, right, I'll store up all of this and then I'll create everything from it. And that's a really natural predator is. And I was just like, this 11-year-old kid is coming to me saying, the first time no one made fun of my little belly.
You know what's so interesting? It's like when you say that about being made fun of, I think social media parents, you know, because it's that whole thing where it's like you could be watching somebody on TV and laugh at their size and everything else, and then the kid feels it's okay to laugh at the size because they haven't got it from nowhere. It's like 11-year-old kids, you know, they've learnt it from somewhere, right? It's so interesting what you both say, and I completely agree. You see, as you're speaking, I'm going, God, what has been my body story? And I spent my ages from the age of 6 to 18 in Africa, in Cameroon, and in Africa, it is that thing where somebody will walk down the street and go, "Oh my God, you're so fat!" Like they will literally, "Oh yeah, it's," and be like, "Oh my God, you've put on so much weight." Like it's a thing. Somebody once said that to me. Somebody who I know. I'll call him a family friend. And he walked into the house one day, and I was visiting from here. And I walked in. He goes, "Oh my God!" He goes, "You've gotten so fat." I went, "Oh my God, you've gotten so ugly." And he literally didn't know what to do with himself. And he went, and my mum was like, "Oh, that was so rude." I went, "Really?" I said, "Rude." I was like, "Carry on speaking. Let's see who." Now he's so polite to me and stuff. And I'm like, dude, you don't know what's going on in my life. You don't know what I'm having to deal with, what's going on and stuff. Even if I'm sat there scoffing a packet of biscuits, you don't know what's driven me to that and stuff. Like, no. And so when I was growing up in Africa, I'd get people saying, "Oh, you know, you're a lot bigger." There was one person who said to me, "Well, you'll grow into your body. You'll grow into it. You know, you'll grow into it." I never did. I think I just got bigger and bigger. But when I look back at pictures, I'm like, I wasn't big. I was tiny. I was minuscule. But I guess maybe my presence was a lot bigger and stuff. So people used to think I was big. I don't know. So, and also my boobs as well. Like I've had people go, "God, you know, you was," and then I look at my boobs and I'm like, there was nothing off me and stuff. And you're like, that I'm sure has had its impact. But the truth of the matter is, I do love food. I do believe that food sometimes can be a masking of something, especially when you're stressed and everything else and stuff. And if I'm really honest, when I was younger, I didn't deal with my emotions a lot and stuff. I'm gonna say I was verbally attacked quite a lot when I was growing up. So food and solace was amazing to just. You know, you go where it's quiet and you have food, and there's that feeling of food where you go, especially if it's food that you love, right? So of course the weight comes on and everything else. But I've never felt, I'm talking between 6 and 18. I don't think I ever felt like I needed to dress a certain way to fit in. Now, when I came back to England, we used to go clubbing. And again, and I remember looking for outfits to wear, and it was always skirts that were that long, and trying to get a size 14 or 16 dress as short, nice, sexy outfit. When I was growing up, wasn't a thing. Like, you were lucky if River Island did a 14 or a 16. And then you had to resort then to Evans, which was Big is Beautiful or something like that. Those were like
really, really old clothes.
Right. So, and I just remember feeling so angry at Evans, especially because I was like, it wasn't if this would suit me. It was like, it fits you, so you have to wear it. And I feel like that has determined how I dress now, which is nobody will ever tell me what to wear, how to wear it. I've managed to beat the body trend by going, I'm going to design for myself. It's why I design all my dresses. I'm coming up with a new, it's going to be a vlog and a blog, and it's called The Dress Diaries. So stay tuned for that. Yes. But I made a decision, and I stopped having that feeling of when there's an event and going, oh my God, what do I wear? I never have that issue. I have so many beautiful dresses that I've designed, and they suit me. And whether I expand or what's the opposite, or
shrink.
There you go. And stuff. I have something to wear, and I will never let anybody tell me what trend I'm on. And if you don't want to come to me, and here's the thing, I'm like a magnet. I attract so many people, and nobody ever comes to me based on my size.
Yeah.
Ever.
And the thing that was really telling for me was I started traveling heavily in my mid-20s all over the world. And there was one incident, I won't go into all of the details, but I was in a riot in Jakarta. I wasn't rioting, I just got trapped in it. But because
we believe you, Helen. Sorry, we believe you.
Yeah, reputation. But because of my height, and I got a backpack on, and I was actually traveling with two girlfriends, one of whom was 5'2", one of whom was 5'3". I could see over the top of everybody. And I suddenly had this realization, actually, that we're all completely different, because 2 weeks later, I was in the US and I felt absolutely tiny compared with everybody else. But then when I was in Asia again, I felt huge. And then you're just like, actually, there is, to quote you, Naomi, there is no body trend. We're all just different human beings. And where we fit in, I'm pretty average in the UK, but I'm really short in the Netherlands, and I'm really tall in the Philippines. And, sort of, what does that mean? Nothing. And I think that's really interesting when we start to actually define who we are and own who we are. So much of that just drops away. And as you said, sort of, Victoria, just Vic, when I design my dresses because I know they suit me and I rock them. Yeah. Brilliant.
Yeah. Naomi, question. You deal with a lot of women who come to you for a number of reasons, and their initial thought is, I've tried losing weight, I've not lost weight, and I know that you dig deeper into that. But is there a perception of what they should look like when they come in? As in, is that what they come in with, or are these different mindsets that you break down? Because I feel like when somebody believes that they need to lose weight, it's because they're aspiring to be either like someone or be like something that they've been told they need to be like.
Yeah, so it's a really interesting question. So a little, not one size fits all, excuse the sort of pun, but I get a lot of women that kind of come to me and want to be back where they were.
Okay.
So they come to me and, and like we've just said about how we look back at pictures. I look back at when I was doing my first diet at 14, and actually, if anything, you'd have actually thought that maybe I had an eating disorder. Because I look back and you can see, you can almost see my pelvis through my skirt. You can see kind of like the complete outline of my skeletal system. But
Mm.
I thought I was overweight and fat. And yes, lots of things, watching a mum diet, being at an all-girls school that was highly competitive, growing up with a sister who was actually very athletic compared to me. And I thought that she had like the perfect body, and all these different things. So a bit of a mixture. I don't attract women who want to be like, who want the thigh gap, the six pack. That's just not who I attract. Probably because I don't care about the thigh gap anymore, or the six pack, or the, that's not, do you know what? I've got what I wanted, which was to feel at peace in the body that I have, to reverse all my health conditions, to no longer be comparing myself to everybody on Instagram, the heroin chic, the, all these different things. That was the piece that I always wanted. And it's honestly what most women come to me for. They don't come to be a certain size. They don't come to be a certain trend. They don't come to be more like Cameron Diaz. They come because they have spent, like Helen and myself and you, Vic, from what we've just said, they've spent a lifetime loathing the only home that is for life. And they're sick and tired of it. And they want to feel at home, at peace, free from that comparison and all those different things. So no, women don't tend to come to me sort of for like that, I want to be this or I want to be that. It's much more, I want to feel. But I do always hear these conversations about, like, if I could just get back to like my pre-children weight, my pre-marriage weight. And what I always have to point out is, are you still that woman? Because you're not. Your responsibilities have changed. Your lifestyle has changed. Demands have changed. You can't get back to that. And I say that, but actually some of my clients have got back into their wedding dresses, have got back into their pre-20-year baby clothes and, children clothes and different things. But that's not the goal. The goal isn't to get back to where you were. The goal is to get to a healthy, optimal, vibrance, energy, all those different things, and be confident and comfortable in your body, regardless of what the size is.
It's quite interesting because when you say that they want to go back to where they were, what comes up to me is it's beyond the size. It's more the feeling. It's almost like they feel as if where they were before was a lot simpler, and it's like, no, but you've had to grow, so it's beyond that. So even if you fit into that dress, if you don't do with all the other work that I know you do with them, then it's still going to feel empty. Because it's just that, oh God, it's almost like, God, I wish I could go back to when it was simpler. It's like, no, it wasn't simpler. You were just a different person dealing with different stuff, right? Yeah. So it's interesting as well about the whole Kylie thing. I just want to put this out there. Even Kylie doesn't look like Kylie. I'm gonna put that out there. So because for Kylie to look that cute, first and foremost, hereditary, she was born that tiny, so you need to have got her genes. But also, there's somebody who chooses her outfit, does her hair, and everything else. And without all of that and stuff, Kylie doesn't look like Kylie. And it's that whole thing where especially when you see celebrities on the street, you go, God, they look different. It's like, no. It's taken a whole team to get them to look like you know what I mean? Like there's somebody going, this person needs to look like this, so we need to get them to that level. And then when they leave and when we're not working with them, they strip it all away and you just have a human being. I remember bumping into Lionel Blair once in a Victoria Station. Poor man. And so, and he wasn't necessarily a looker, but he was on TV quite a lot and he had to have a lot of makeup. And the poor man, his hair wasn't even a color anymore. Like it was almost like he'd just been scrubbed and put out on the street, because he'd been. I felt so bad for him because he literally had just, he spent his life on the makeup and hair dye and everything else. And when you're Lionel Blair just waiting for a train to come, you don't look like Lionel Blair. And so and it's something for us just to remember. And so it's like,
my husband was my ex-husband was a graphic designer, and I can remember sitting down with him. He'd been doing some work in a photo shoot with Claudia Schiffer. And they had to do a load of work on her, and they were doing all of this work, and he showed me it. And I said, okay, here's a photo of me from our wedding. So I was made up. I thought I looked the best. And he went, "Yep, well, we'll do this. And it wasn't me."
Yeah.
It's
But
like the
he
modern
done
day.
to me what they do to Claudia Schiffer on the cover of the magazines.
Yes.
And I was, holy, I mean, I looked amazing, but it wasn't me.
And in a year where, or in a period where AI at the AdCon event, actually, there was a lot of conversations around AI and stuff, which were quite beneficial and quite eye-opening as well to everybody who was listening to them. But it was that whole thing of, if you're just using it for appearance reasons, then it's not going to serve you because you are you. And I don't know if anybody has heard of Dan Coe. Dan Coe is, I'm going to say a business coach or an entrepreneur or something. But his video came on my YouTube the other day, and he went, "I am begging you." He goes, "I am begging you to start writing." He says, "Please start writing." He goes, because with AI coming, if you keep depending on AI to write, it's that whole message that we're getting, right? Like, if you keep on using AI to write, then your message is going to get diluted. You're going to sound like everybody. It goes, "Please write." And this is a young guy. I'm sure I'm older than him and stuff. And I was like, fair play to you for putting that out there, but very interesting ploy for there. Now, let's look at trends from a different angle, because, and I don't know if this is the place for me to talk about it, but one thing that I'll say is, it's like you have your trends, but you see, I've ignored the trend. I've ignored the trend almost to the point of, and now when I'm going through my life, I'm going, have I ignored it almost to my own detriment? So there's a trend, and for whatever reason, I think if you sit down and go, okay, society is going to always be society. What can we take away from that message? I would say the message is, be healthy. Take this vessel and let it do what it needs to be doing. And especially for 6 years experiencing severe back pain, and as a healer who has healed other people's back pains, is very, very frustrating. That I still am healing mine, and it still hurts. So I remember being told I was overweight when I was 10 stone ago. I remember being told I was overweight at Weight Watchers 10 stone ago. I had to go down to my BMI and all that stuff and blah, blah. But what I have done is, like I said, I've taken control of how I show up. So I choose my dresses and everything else. But what I've realized is that I'm actually I'm going to sort of like reduce the number of dresses I have made when I go to Cameroon. Because what I've realized is, when I put on weight, I've just had dresses made bigger.
Yeah.
And I was like, so how do we rectify that? So now, it's like there's dresses that either are tight or not. And it's like, okay, we need to reverse that by sort of like looking at your food and also your emotions and why you eat and everything else. And also sort of like move back into those outfits, because just keep on growing bigger and bigger and bigger just because you can, equally is not healthy. And I'm just wondering, is there a case where you've experienced that, or have you always been, what's the word? Have you always been, I guess, more aware? Because I realize that I haven't been in certain instances.
Oh no, I got to 39 and I had just kept buying the next size up, the next size up, the next size up. And in my early 40s, when I cleared out my wardrobe, it literally went from anything from a size 8 to a size 20. I was holding on to those size 8s and 10s thinking, one day I'll get back into them, hanging up on the outside of the wardrobe as some form of like incentive recognition. And you were saying there about kind of like Evans and buying the item because it fit rather than because you liked it. That was nearly all of my wardrobe. Was I bought it because it fit. And if I used to panic buy.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I'd like diet for a holiday, but actually end up binge eating because the diet, you know, again, the way that my brain was wired, restriction, binge, self-loathing, lovely cycle that just went on for 30 years. And so I'd buy these outfits for a holiday, or I'd say to myself, I'll get back into that for a holiday or a friend's wedding or engagement party or whatever it was. And then I'd get to like a week before and it'd be like, oh my God, it still doesn't fit. I feel awful in everything. So I'd go out to the shops and just panic buy whatever fitted. And it's funny, you know, when you've got like one memory that like flicks into your mind. I was in my 30s, probably about 36, working in corporate, looking after the UK and Ireland. And I was invited to the Scottish Fashion Awards, which was a pretty big deal. I worked for a cosmetic brand, and I knew like I'd been given the invite like months before. Oh, I'll get that, you know, I'll feel amazing. I'll wear this incredible dress. No, it didn't happen. I literally got off the flight in Glasgow, ran into the local department store, went to the personal stylist sort of, you know, thing and said, like, I need a dress for tonight. And, you know, I don't know what to wear. And I feel and I knew I was going to be on the red carpet. I knew there was going to be photos. I just felt absolutely bloody awful. And anyway, I ended up buying this dress, which was lovely, but I really bought it because it was pretty much the only thing that fit, but actually gave me a little bit of room to move, wasn't uncomfortable. And yeah, that was very much my MO for a long, long time. Just buy bigger, buy looser, you know, have things taken out, whatever it might be. And even when zips broke and different things, it still didn't like kind of make me go, well, it did. No, the thing is, it did. So you said there about the awareness. I was aware, but I just couldn't see. The more I tried, and I know this now because of obviously everything that I do with my clients. Yeah. The more I tried, the more panicked I got about the situation, the more I actually moved away from where I wanted to be getting to. So yeah, it was very much a case of just the next size up. That, you know, at one point I had like the same item in my wardrobe because I love that item, but I had it in like 3 different sizes.
Yeah, I hear that.
It's not, I don't think it's even just the sizes up. So I've got an entire wardrobe in boxes in the attic, and I'm sure some of them fit me. Some of them most probably don't, but they are all from my corporate London days. And I have 20 pairs of incredibly expensive high heel shoes. And I'm sitting there going, I can't give these away. You know, it's not quite, I don't want to go back to that. I'm never going to go back to wearing little dresses and little heels and wandering around the city with my sort of insanely expensive handbags. No, sorry, you get me in trainers and jeans, maybe a skirt if you're lucky, sort of thing. But it is, there's this bit of me that goes, but they're just beautiful. I have a pair of electric blue high heels. Never going to wear them again. Yeah. Never going to wear them again. They were painful when I did wear them, but they're just beautiful. They're beautiful. And so they're sat in a box in my loft.
Gift them away or sell them.
Or here's the thing. If they bring back
them.
Yes, exactly what I was just about to say. So my Jimmy Choos, which I actually do wear, because even though they are really high for a night out, they are absolute killers. And I also wear them when I'm hosting a masterclass because they give me a little bit of something. But I actually have them on display in my flat so that, like, they're not just in a cupboard and worn for a night out. They're actually kind of like they're displayed with a couple of other bits and pieces because they bring me joy.
Yes.
But like you, Helen, you know, when I walked out of corporate, I still had a corporate wardrobe with all these beautiful heels, fabulous colors. You know, one of my sales managers used to say, the higher the heels, the higher the success.
Oh yeah. I had the tighter the dress, the higher the margin.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go.
And never mind the fact that I'd had spinal surgery, I still had to wear the height of heels that I was told to wear. So I actually did I can't remember how many years ago, 5 years ago, I had a massive clear out and I was like, I just need a couple of pairs of, you know, neutral heels, whatever it might be. I do not need all these others. And I had a massive, massive clear out and let go of those things, because that's an old identity. It's not part of this chapter, this identity. But I think, again, what was interesting about what you said, Vic, about going back to somewhere is not necessarily about the size, but it is about what was like. So when women say to me maybe about going back to pre-baby weight or pre-marriage, maybe actually what they're really saying is, I'd kind of like to be back there before I had the children, before I got married.
Yeah.
Grieving the old life. It's grieving the old identity.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it's interesting because I used to have a corporate wardrobe, and one day I used to go to Savile Row and have suits made. I mean, I kind of had heels, but I've always been if I'm honest, I've always been a barefoot. One of my last sort of like proper contracts that I had about 7 years ago, I got brought in from the work that I do. And I think it was before I was anointed as well. And this woman would chase me around the office because I never wore shoes. She lived, and the health and safety thing was so high there. She was like, you can't, literally, and bearing in mind that I'm managing a team and all my team can see me doing is just walking past this woman, and this woman chasing me going, Victoria, you need to wear your shoes, and you can't wear flip flops, and you can't wear this and that. And I was like, oh my God, listen, there's bigger things happening than me wearing. And literally she spent her whole time just chasing me. I'm sure when I left, she didn't know what to do, because so the barefoot has always been a thing, but I would maybe bring heels into the office and then maybe walk to the next room to have a meeting and stuff. But I've never really complied. But it got to a point where I literally took everything, including embroidered named suits, and I just took it all to the charity shop, and I just gave them away because there was still such good quality. And you know, and I used to sort of like bring dresses in from America, sort of like what do you call these people, Armani, and all these designer dresses, and I would wear all of them. I got rid of all of them. 2 years ago, went to Cameroon, gave loads to my cousin. I was like, just take, because they don't hold the same value. They just don't mean anything to me anymore. But again, I also think that's because of the work that I do. Moving into sizes and everything else, that's something for me, and health and a deeper awareness, but it has nothing to do with trend. It's not like I want to be anybody else. I just want, like, you know, what do you call it, inflammations to go. I want, you know, to move freer and everything else and stuff, more than the trend. I would love to continue this conversation, because I think that this conversation has got so many legs and what have you. I think what we're going to do is we're going to just put some questions out there on social media, and we'd love to see you back with us and tell us what your story is, because as you can see, everybody has got a different story. And as Naomi rightly said, it is gender neutral. It's not about women. It's not about men. It comes from so deep within. And when people expect us to look a certain way, they're ignoring the human side of it, that people go through stuff, you know. It's like, when I was younger, I used to think, God, why would she let herself go and put on so much weight? And you're like, when somebody's dealing through perimenopause and stuff, it's like, the last thing you're thinking about is how you look and what have you. You're just about trying to get some sleep without hot flushes, or you're trying to get through the day where you can remember your own name and remember why you walked into a room. It's true though, isn't it? So it's like, before we make judgments, we need to take all these considerations. Final words before we go, Helen.
I think it comes back to something that Naomi said. This is the vessel. This is the only thing we've got to experience this life.
Yeah.
And hating it just means you end up not enjoying your life as much as you could do.
Thank you. Naomi.
I agree. Mine's kind of, I guess, going to be a bit of a twist on that. Like, who is going to lie on their deathbed and say, I wish I spent more time, energy, and focus on, you know, something like a body trend? Nobody.
I agree. And that's a great note to end it. Sort of like, when you're on your deathbed, what do you think you're going to be thinking about? Let us know. We will see you next week. Speak to you soon. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.